Good evening and welcome to Straight Talk. I'm Eugene Chan, and our guest this evening is Chairman of Hong Kong Shippers Council, Mr. Willie Lin. Mr. Lin is a seasoned industrialist with extensive experience in the textile and garment business. He is chair of several of our textile exporters associations, where he has been a driving force in promoting Hong Kong's export and textile industries, and also plays a key role in our trade and logistics sectors, being on the Trade and Industry Advisory Board, the Hong Kong Logistics Development Council, and the Hong Kong Maritime and Port Board. We have asked Mr. Lin to share his perspectives on the global trade environment and to outline for us some of the challenges and opportunities for Hong Kong. Welcome, Willie.
Good. Welcome. Thank you, Mr. Eugene.
Mr. Lin, the world is undergoing very significant changes, from economic shifts to geopolitical tensions and a new term called the technological disruptions.
Right.
So in such a rapidly evolving environment, where do you see global trade today? And maybe you can give us a bird's eye view.
Well, I think the economy, worldwide economy, is going up to facing a bit uncertain, a little bit headwinds with a lot of geopolitics on the horizon. Trade and politics, unfortunately, will be merging into a new perspective in the global world. Trade, politics, and even securities. So Hong Kong definitely been facing a lot of challenges. Historically, I think Hong Kong and companies had been a global player. We have been participating extensively in WTO, one of our founders. We're APEC members. So WCO, World Customs Organization. So we do have a lot of respect of promoting free trade in the world. So unfortunately, I think we all know that in the last 10 years or so, protectionism is rising. Hong Kong companies are facing a lot more challenges in where we source, where we produce, and how we do our business. I think we should look back at Hong Kong had always been a very good global player, as I mentioned earlier. Trading, logistics, and manufacturing have been the backbone of Hong Kong economy for finance. We have been doing this kind of global trade since in the 70s and 80s, where we start to produce in Hong Kong, make in Hong Kong, make by Hong Kong in the 80s, and partner with Hong Kong in the 90s. So this has been a gradually evolvement of our industries, no matter it's the textile industries or the toys industries, or now of course the high technologies, high tech industries. There has been no changes. But with the competitive edge, Hong Kong being a very small economy, right? We only 7.5 million people with limited resources. So in order to enable our industry to grow, we have been outsourcing. We've been moving our part of industries from Hong Kong initially into Shenzhen, Dongguan, and Southeast Asia. And of course, thermal into the African regions and Mexico. We see all our footpath everywhere. Mm-hmm. That has been doing very well. That has been, especially when we are in the last 30 years of the global WTO, GATT negotiation, WTO, global trade is every country's aspects of the future. Broad economy of scales, low inflations to all countries. Right. That's been doing very well.
Right. Willie, you have given us, a lot of kind of a bird's eye view of what's happening, and with your experience in trade, I'm sure you've seen it evolve over the last few decades. But one area I'm sure the viewers and I will sort of realize is Hong Kong has always been a sort of rely on trading, exporting things to what we so-call the more advanced economies, like the US or the Western countries. But we have seen them sort of experiencing lower growth now, and which sort of creating a weaker trading environment. We'll talk about the US market later. How can we adapt to this new reality? And are there any businesses or industries or markets which defy this trend and still offer growth opportunities?
Well, I think the traditional industries of such as trade, logistics, manufacturing, which we're producing bulk productions, put in container and shipped or OEM manufacturing and producing whatever the customers want, being a car garment or TV sets. That business model now is have been revolving into more personalized interest, bypassing traditional retail shops per se, e-commerce. Right? Everybody heard about e-commerce, but originally from very much in China. E-commerce with logistics together became a new trade for the whole global world trade. This actually created new demand, digital trading, to create individualism. People have more choice that, I can sit in looking at my iPad or my phone, I can choose product, choose food, and this is becoming really borderless. Mm-hmm. Nobody knows, actually consumers do not know whether a product is being produced in which country. For them, it's not the most important point. I like it, I purchase it. If there's some defect, I return back to the e-commerce companies. So in the US, they have been doing very well with Amazon, those companies. And that, of course, in China, we have now, the last 10, 12 years ago with Alibaba, Dong, they all come up. So that's fulfilled a new directive, particularly in countries. Now, let's say one step back. E-commerce is a new term, but in old days, we call it a mail order business.
Yes, we did that, yes.
That was years ago. So because everybody buy a catalog. I look at catalog, I see it, great, I order, I pay check, the thing delivered to you. When gradually printing becomes more expensive, then the electronic system bill comes up, then it's the e-commerce. So all this hard and border, bulk shipment, mail ordering, e-commerce, now we have three platforms simultaneously, still working very well.
Right. So, Willie, we have just talked about the change in the global landscape. Let's look at some global trends, what we call them sort of more certain things to happen, like the word that we discussed, certainties. There are four areas where I'm going to ask you. Firstly, we never had protectionism and trade barrier. And then you have seen the mainland actually have diversified their trade partners. And then you see the manufacturing shifts away from China. And of course, the geopolitical and institutional changes. Let's look at the global trends in terms of protection and trade barriers. With rising protectionism, with all these Western economies doing, especially with Trump coming on, how is it going to affect the Hong Kong trading environment?
Well, it's very unfortunate, as I said, with the WTO GATT, there was starting 30 years ago negotiation, all days were quotas, then the GATT opening up, everybody was looking at really free market economy, then protection pops up again, unfortunately. You see trade diversions, manufacturers, importers are asking companies that one should not have their supply source only relying on China.
Right.
And then gradually, again, expand to other production base, Southeast Asia, of course, the Indian subcontinent, Mexico. So very originally, the supply chain of China took about 30 years for us to build a very secure, very strong supply chain. So manufacturers will be able to produce everything within 5 to 7 days even, as short as that. That had been providing a very, very efficient, just-in-time delivery for our customers overseas. Now, Hong Kong companies have been doing a great job of providing trust, a very, very strong partnership, and not only that, design capability to our trading partner. That's why that you can see that despite a lot of jargon, say politics and trade have to add together, companies still want to source through Hong Kong, with Hong Kong companies, but unfortunately they make it very clear, please do not produce in China.
Willie, so if that's the case, well, how can Hong Kong maintain neutrality and resilience in this trading relationship with other countries? Because we used to be, Hong Kong is Hong Kong. I never thought Hong Kong is part of China, but we talk about one country, two systems nowadays, even more than before. So some people say Hong Kong is part of China. So how can we maintain neutral and not be affected by this protectionism?
Hong Kong is very part of China, but Hong Kong is also an individual member of WTO. And that's a very important point.
Okay.
We had a lot of free trade agreement with different countries. That actually enabled Hong Kong investors, overseas companies to work with Hong Kong companies to work together for a better trade environment. Now, this did not change. In the last 30 years, we continue to sign free trade agreement, like Hong Kong ASEAN free trade agreement. We have free trade agreement with Australia, with New Zealand, with Switzerland, for example. So we do have a lot of free trade agreement with some Middle East countries. That enable Hong Kong companies to work with them, to export our product to them, and it's vice versa. We can be a partner with them for their product to be exported into China. So we do provide that platform because we have knowledge of international trade. We have knowledge of Chinese market. We know the rules and orders, real requirement of China import requirement. We know the foreigners' requirement. So Hong Kong become really a super melting pot and understanding and creating this platform. I think that is had always been a very important platform for Hong Kong companies.
Okay, Willie, let's take a short break now. But viewers, we will be right back. Thank you for staying with us. Mr. Willie Lin has been sharing with us his insights into the current state of global trade. So Willie, you have given us a very complex picture of what's happening with all those intervening factors. Things that we have picked up as sort of from the community is that we see that the mainland is having diversified their trading partners. From what I said earlier in the first part, from Western countries majority to ASEAN, Africa and South America, and that's why Hong Kong has gone on those trips. How does this impact Hong Kong, and do you think Hong Kong can benefit from this, or can we actually tap into the market? Because over the last 150 years, we have been concentrating on the Western countries.
Hong Kong, certainly, I think our experience with working with our trading partner in the Western countries actually enable us to understand what global trading means, actual words means. Of course, every new market do have their own requirements. We do have to be on the ground, running on the ground, understanding new trade rules, what kind of habit those all these new countries do have. But with the global knowledge, Hong Kong is really an open platform. We have free trade. We don't have any import duties at all. So we will be able to source raw materials and put into a production base and export to a country where we are working with now. Very important, particularly in the last 10 years or so, technology also built into our trading platform. We're not only doing cutting everything by hand, per se.
Right.
New technologies, just-in-time production, Industrial 4.0, sensor. All these new technologies enable us to produce product much more efficient, but at the same time more individualism. And we can produce a small batch productions much faster than we can do in the old days.
Right. Willie, another thing that we have noticed is we've seen people who are manufacturing away from China. China now, they used to always made in China. For example, they go to Vietnam and India. And how does that create Hong Kong's opportunities in terms of trade and logistics?
Actually, that's great in a way. It's enable us to open the market more. Now, I think that in our business model, factories do not leave China, but we establish new, we call China +1, China +2 policy. Those production base in China will continue to serve two purposes. One, to serve domestic market, Chinese new domestic market. But number two, very, very, very important, is testing new product efficiency. We use new production method, new materials, and test it. It works. Then we go to our factories in, as I say, Vietnam, in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Indonesia. All this will enable us to utilize the knowledge we built from our testing ground in China or in Hong Kong production base and move offshore.
Right.
Everyone thought that, when we move offshore, it must be low cost. Not at all. Low tech, not at all. Actually, we are putting the most advanced technologies, machineries in our offshore manufacturing, because that will ensure that with compatibility with what we are doing in China and what with the offshores.
Right. Willie, you also mentioned earlier about the WTO that Hong Kong is a member of, but we know that maybe from the news that we're reading, we feel that it's losing its effectiveness, or what we call the control because of the political volatility.
Yes.
So how will Hong Kong prepare for what I call less predictable global trade environment?
And I think you have to look at two ways. Number one, a multilateral trading system is only beneficial at the whole of mankind. Motherland, China, and a lot of actual European countries also strongly support WTO, but maybe with a new modified platform. But at the same time, we also have to accept the new reality that trade and politics goes hand in hand. This is something that the many companies in Hong Kong now have to face. But with our China plus one or two platform, Hong Kong being the big brain, we will still be Hong Kong. We provide the finances. We have the international knowledge. We have the AI ChatGPT easily operate in Hong Kong. We have the free trade system. That will enable Hong Kong to absorb all the talent to come in. And when at the same time we diversify, we move our production base in different places.
Right.
That is actually, a lot of companies actually, because of that, not only get stuck with one market, but we suddenly say, oh, the world is a lot greater.
Okay.
With new opportunities that maybe a new business model, new business partner that you had never thought of. And Middle East is really a good example.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Willie, so we have been talking about all these sort of more certain things that we have seen that has happened, what we can call the global trend. But there's also something more uncertain. I'm sure everybody will know what I'm going to talk to. It's about the new president, the US President Trump coming to office. And he has been unpredictable, and nobody knows exactly what will happen. Some say he's going to be more even stricter or more unfair to China, but some say he's going to apply the same rules to everybody.
Right.
So would you say this is opportunities for Hong Kong?
Oh, yes. I think, first of all, we've got to have a very good, buckle up, put safety belt on. It's going to be a pretty rock and roll to come now on for a couple of years. But at the same time, the more uncertainty, actually, Hong Kong become actually more certain. I think I always tell everybody that during COVID time, all US customers are partnering with Hong Kong because they know they come to Hong Kong, they get the product, they get the certainty because we know the quality, we know the trust and the knowledge of the product. So when you goes up and down, yes, we have to ride the tide. That's normal. But at the same time, partner with your customer. They also knows that whom they should work with will ensure that the product will be delivered to them. Now, you point out, it might not be China anymore. Is it onshoring? Is it offshoring? Or is it nearshoring? Okay, that's three terms actually will be a future in the coming 5 years, will be happening. But everybody will be more uncertain.
So you're saying that we must have our seatbelt on and enjoy the roller coaster?
Exactly.
Right. Another area that's sort of always uncertain is about the global conflicts. The Russia and Ukraine war is still on, unfortunately, and the conflicts in the Middle East doesn't seem to have a clear solution as yet. So what are the long-term implications for Hong Kong's trade and logistics? Because you've been through that in the last few decades. We've seen wars, we've seen tensions. What will happen?
Unfortunately, inflation is creeping in. I think we all see that despite the very positive view of US Fed, is the interest rate coming down? If the interest rate is not coming down as fast as everybody hoped for, companies will have to look at how are their finances going to plan for their own futures. How do they affect the currency? How would that affect their individual business opportunities? Where are you going to start up? Where you got new manufacturing place? Where you find the finances? So I think we can only hope for that. The Middle East seems to be a little bit more controlled now. We haven't heard much about container boat being attacked anymore, so that's the good news. But the cost of transport is still very expensive.
Right.
But we have to look at the global context is, as mentioned earlier, the onshoring, the offshoring, the nearshoring, plus the Europeans starting this year, coming 5 years, the carbon taxation. All these are trading barriers or trading opportunities that Hong Kong companies will have to be aware of.
Right. So Willie, and one more area I want to touch on is actually the mainland's economy hasn't been good. We all know that.
Right.
We are trying to stimulate that. It used to be by exports, but export is now being curbed by what we have seen in the world. So how can Hong Kong support this? Because we have our financial services, and can we be sort of an intermediate party to help our mainland in picking up the growth again? Or am I thinking too much?
Well, it's a very big question. I mean, the confidence. I think central government had been looking at it since the last 15 years already, always telling manufacturers that you should try to do more local sales, internal trade. But then you look at China GDP now, it's about 60% is domestic sales.
Right.
Only down to about 30-something is export.
Right.
So I think the central government are already preparing that they should not be relying so much so on export driven. Now, Hong Kong companies what Hong Kong can bring to the table is really international product. Our knowledge of the Chinese import system, bring in new, better quality consumer product from offshores into China. This is our traditional strength of trading and supporting.
Right, Willie, I'm going to ask you in the last part of the show, Hong Kong's role has always been a financial hub, and I'm sure our country wants us to maintain that, to help us and help the nation. But with technology and business having to merge together, and as you said, our Chief Executive, Mr. John Lee, has a reform innovate for the people. So can Hong Kong do that? And also with e-commerce coming through, how is Hong Kong going to benefit from this? Because one day we're going to lose a lot of jobs for the local Hong Kong people. So what do you say to that?
Well, I think we will only, I only see bad positive on this point of view. I think, as I said, we have been a very strong trading mindset, Hong Kong people. We know we can smell opportunities. And with the e-commerce coming in or other new future trading platform coming in, we see traditional demand actually did not decrease, but it's just moved offshore.
Right.
The new demand of e-commerce or e-commerce related business opportunities, being logistics, being last mile delivery, being KPI, all these young spokespersons introducing products and so on and so on. All this actually are creating new opportunities for Hong Kong people to be the super connector. We're connecting brands, no matter Chinese brand, sell overseas, or foreign brands bring into China. We are this super connector that understand the two culture. I think that is the uniqueness of Hong Kong.
Right. Willie, you have given us a lot to think about, and thank you for your insights into this complex issue. Indeed, Hong Kong must embrace her critical role as a super connector, as Willie had just said, maximizing our strategic advantages and driving reform to advance innovation and technology. This will reinforce our position as a key hub in global trade. Thank you for joining us, and have a good evening.